What's up, Realtors Toolbox? This is
Woohoo!
number
Let's go.
3. All right. This is so exciting. This is where the money is made in the follow-up. Right?
That's it.
That's
Yeah,
it. Without
what
this,
happened
you're just
after the
entertaining.
open house?
After the open house.
Yeah.
So, you got ready. You had a great open house. Everything was good. You packed up. So here's what I do when I'm driving home. Can I tell you what I do?
Do it.
Sometimes I've been there so long, the very first thing I do, put my signs in the car and I hit up a drive-through.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a long day, right? 4, 5, 6 hours. And I'm hungry.
Gotta get something to eat.
Lucy would not approve, but sometimes I do. I would
That's right.
find what I can
yeah.
find.
Yep. That's awesome.
So then the other thing I do on my way home, whether I'm talking to a seller or whether I'm talking to the listing agent, I have a conversation with feedback. And I say, I've had this many people come in, and one guy said this, and one guy said that, and one guy said this, and I tell them, whichever it is, how it went. That's what they want to know. They want to know.
Absolutely.
What was the day like?
Yes.
If somebody
Absolutely.
said, I want to write an offer, I'm going to tell them that. If I got nobody,
Yeah.
I'm going to tell them that.
Which doesn't happen very often, but it'll happen eventually.
You know what happened to me? I was a brand new agent. I got this open house and I was doing it for another agent. I came in, I put out signs, I did all what I was supposed to do. But this was a difficult neighborhood, and I didn't know there was a shooting the night before.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
not kidding. I go into this open house, and I was there by myself most of the time. I had 2 people come in, and I only knew there was a shooting because one of them was the neighbor and said so.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
That is
things happen.
crazy.
You never know.
It happens. Yeah. So I love that. The feedback. Yes. The seller, if it's your listing, they're dying to know how it went, right?
Yeah.
So even though you're exhausted, you've been there all day setting up signs, being organized, doing all the things that you do. And now you're starving because you forgot to bring something to snack on while you're at your open house.
Yeah.
But you're on your way out. But these people, either the sellers or if someone partnered with you and allowed you to hold their listing open, they are dying to know what the feedback is so they can tell their sellers. So it's probably the most important thing you can do when you're done is provide that feedback. And so if you're watching this video right now and you're looking for a list of things, I like to think about it this way. The seller's interested in how many groups of people came through, maybe how many total numbers of people came through. And then was there any constructive criticism about the property, any good feedback? Things that maybe need to be changed or fixed or something that if you get a trend of people all commenting on the same thing, that's kind of some of the feedback that the seller and the listing agent, if it's not your listing, they're looking for because they will make adjustments and do things to try to get that house sold. And then, of course, the most important thing, and finally on my list of 3 things for the seller or the listing agent is, did anyone express an interest like you mentioned? Did they say they're going to write an offer, right? I mean, maybe they're there with their agent and they're like, we're going to write an offer on this. Or they leave and say, hey, I just called my agent. I'm going to put an offer in tonight. They really want to know if people expressed an interest in writing an offer. So that feedback phone call is the number one thing, especially if it's not your listing and you'd like to have a long ongoing relationship with that other agent. They may let you hold other future open houses on their listings if they can't do it or they need someone to do it. And it'd be nice to get the phone call on that if you're, really trying to ramp up your business and you're doing lots of open houses. So yeah, that feedback, super important.
Absolutely.
And what's next after that, Michelle? What are you thinking about after you provide the feedback? Now what?
So honestly, I recover for the evening. I kind of take a breath. But the very next day, in the morning, usually around 10 or so, I make a few calls and I thank people for coming. Um, if I don't have a good working phone number, sometimes people will give you a fake phone number. I send an email. You can do both and just say, "Hey, thanks for coming. It was good to see you," and say something, right? When
Yes.
they're at the open house and they sign in, as soon as they leave, I write down what. Sometimes it's on the back of the sign-in sheet, or I use a notepad in my phone. I write down something about them. I'll say in my notes, um, Sally came with her husband Bob. Niners fans. I'll say they love dogs. They hate dogs. Whatever people say, whatever people talk about, anything. These people came from 2 hours away. Write it
Yes.
down right away. And then when I call them or email them, I might find a way to mention that in the conversation, because I want that person to feel like special, like they matter. I'm
Yeah,
on
like
top
you
of
heard
it.
them. People want to feel heard.
Yeah.
So it's nice when you do that, and it helps you build rapport and create likability with that person. It's a
Yeah.
great idea, Michelle.
And if those guys that came in, if they asked a question I didn't know the answer to, this is when I want to answer that. Answer it quickly, answer it right away the very next day. Maybe you have to ask the agent, maybe you have to Google something for them, whatever it is. Do it pretty quick. Don't wait. It's going to turn stale real fast.
That's right. And I'd like to jump back.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you take notes during the open house. Maybe right when they leave, you open your notepad and you write everything down. And I would say this: you are a professional. If you're going to build your real estate business as a business to make a profit, earn commissions, and make good money,
Yeah.
you want to be organized, be prepared. You've got to take notes. You want to, at all times, at all stages of your open house, before, during, and after, you want to be very intentional about everything that you do. And if
Yeah.
you'll do that and you'll be organized and then start making those phone calls like Michelle's talking about, you will be successful. People will respect you, appreciate you, and they'll want your services. So, really important to do what you say you're going to do. If you've told them you're going to look something up for them, make sure you do it. Two people get affected by it. One, the person that you told is expecting it because you said you would do it. And number two, your internal attitude towards everything is lifted up when you do what you said. So you're encouraging yourself by following through and being integral in the work. So do that for yourself as much as you're doing it for them. But being organized and being a professional and intentional in all of the work, so important, and more important after the open house is over than at any other time, because this is where you're going to really establish whether you've got some things you can do for people, at this time or not.
This is your time to shine, really.
Yeah,
Yeah, anybody
absolutely.
can do an open house, but what are you going to do after that?
Exactly. And Michelle, what do you do as far as like, you've got these names and numbers of everybody that signed in. What do you do with those names and numbers? Obviously, they're on your sheet. You're going to follow up and follow through on the promises you made. But what about CRM and database entering? What are you doing in that area?
Yeah, I'm definitely plugging everybody into my CRM and doing it right away. And another thing I like to listen for is um, maybe I'm hosting a 2 bedroom house, 3 bedroom house, and if they said, "Well, I really need 4 bedrooms," well, I'm going to put that in my criteria. I'm gonna remember those things and load them up right away. Get them on that drip system right away. Don't wait, and that will keep you in front of them. Yeah,
That's
definitely
right.
follow through with that.
Absolutely. And the other thing is any excuse to call these people back afterwards, right?
Yeah.
So price changes, anything that's changed. They came through the open house, call them, talk to them, touch bases with them, let them know, especially if it's a price change. People like to know about price changes. Maybe they came because they liked the house, but it was just a little out of their price range. Now you call them back and you tell them, hey, there's been a $10,000 price reduction on this, or a 15 or a 20. I know of a listing agent that the seller was 20,000 high on the price. They didn't even want to list it at that price, but the seller wanted to try. But now they've lowered that price down to where it should be. It's
Yeah.
20,000 less than when they started. So
Yeah.
you're going to meet people that's going to matter to them. Those little things will make a difference to some people. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. And a price change is a great way to talk to somebody again. It's
yeah,
awesome.
absolutely.
So
And in that conversation with them, maybe they're not interested in the price change, or we thought it over, it's just really not the house for us. Ask them, is there anything I can do for you to be of service to you? This is what I do full time for a living, and I believe in helping everyone, um, to be able to become a homeowner, and I want to assist people in that. Is there anything I can do to be of service and help you? Just ask them. They're looking and wanting people that want to help. And maybe they don't have a real estate service provider yet, and you can become that person to them and make a difference in their life by helping them to buy a home.
yeah.
So I think that's super important. And then for yourself, kind of jumping into evaluate the success of your open house. Constantly be evaluating the work that you do. Look back at what you did. How many groups of people did you get through? How good of a job did you do following back up and then following through on the promises that you made, right? So evaluate that. How many people came through? Was it a lot of people? Was it just a few people? Was it nobody? And remember one thing, you're never going to measure your success in your work one open house at a time. You could have an open house that you had 100 groups of people through. And I've seen both extremes. In fact, just recently, I had my very first open house that I had gotten nobody through. It's
Really?
never happened to me. But I had my first one 2 weeks ago, did not get a single person that came through that open house. Granted, it was 109 degrees out that day. Maybe it kept me warm. But
Yeah.
nonetheless, I'm not gauging how successful I'm going to be by doing open houses because I had one open house like that. Because I've also
Right.
had open houses where I've had 100 and 120 groups of or people through the open house.
Yeah.
So you're going to measure your business and the work you're doing quarterly, not week to week, not month to month. You want to evaluate every quarter. What are you doing? How are you doing it? How can you improve? But you want to evaluate the success of your open house. What could I have done different? What can I have done to be better? And if you haven't seen our other videos, go back and watch the video of what to do before the open house.
Right.
What things are you doing to put all the odds in your favor to get the traffic that you want? So anyways, evaluate your success in open houses as a strategy quarterly. Try to do open houses every weekend if you can. If you're ramping up and building up, you may need to make some sacrifices on the weekends. Maybe you're going to do less barbecuing and less parties and a little bit of this and a little bit less of that in order to give yourself the chance to get your business built up, get your pipeline built up, your database built up so that you've got a pipeline of clients you're working with and you'll get regular, consistent closings. So those are just a few thoughts. Have we missed anything here, Michelle, on after the open house? What's next?
I would also say look for people on social media. So if people came to your open house and they put down their name and phone number, whatever, I go to my social media and see if I can find them and become their friend. I use my
Absolutely.
social media for a lot of real estate related kind of posts. And it's just another way to be under somebody's nose and to connect. So that's a
Yes.
great way to do it too. Not just
Phenomenal.
emails, but hey,
Connecting through social media. Absolutely.
that's what
And
you made it
people,
for, right?
exactly. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
Glad you brought that up. That is fantastic.
So yeah. The other thing is if somebody said, we were talking about earlier, hey, this is a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom, but I really need a 4. Find another 4-bedroom house in a similar price range in a similar area and text it directly to them and say, does this work for you? What do you think of this one? And kind of highlight something. Be proactive in showing them what's available.
Absolutely. So important.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, everything you're doing is demonstrating the professionalism that you're bringing to real estate and why you're a viable realtor and why they should connect with you and use you, because you work hard and you're professional and you treat people with respect, and they're going to want to work with you. And like we always say, you're always interviewing for your next client. So everything you do is an example of who you are and what you'll do for them in helping them to either buy or sell real estate. So yeah, that's great.
I'm sure there are many other ways to follow up and many other ideas out there. So for you realtors who are more seasoned, if you have an idea, please feel free to post that idea in the link below under the comments. We'd love to hear from you. But this is a really great beginning, a really great way that we've highlighted before, during, and after an open house. And again, there are a lot of other things to consider, but this is a great start for you.
Absolutely. Yes.
So follow us in our other videos that we have, and we hope to see you next time. Thanks, guys.
Have a great day.
Have a great day.